This is just a review of the homework, which is from the notes that we took on Friday in class. Okay, we're going to use the law of sines here. So I'm just going to start by identifying the information we're given. We're given that the angle C is 41.1 degrees. We also know that the side opposite that is 27, and this side is 28, okay? So could you please tell me, Jada, what the first thing I'm going to want to find is? Good. Okay, now how could I do that, Chloe? How could I do that? Well, why don't I ask you this? What's the first thing we want to do here, Chloe? Good. And how would we do that? I don't know why, but in my last class I said that a few times, Chloe. I said 41.4 a few times. I don't know why. Okay, and that's equal to what, Chloe?
Sine of A over 28.
Okay, so now we're just going to cross multiply. And we get 28 times the sine of 41.1 is equal to 27 times the sine of A, correct? So what are we going to do now, Chloe? We want to get the sine of A by itself, right? How can we do that? Good. Divide both sides by 27, and that'll just give us 28 sine of 41.1 over 27, and I'm just going to put the sine of A on this side. Okay, now are we looking for a side or are we looking for an angle, Alexia? Okay, so how do we find the angle here? Right, so we're just going to do the sine inverse. And for the sake of saving time, can I just say that we're doing the sine inverse of all of this?
Yeah.
Instead of having to rewrite it? What that means is in your calculator, you're going to put second sine, 28 sine of 41.1, close it out, divided by 27. Okay, great. So everybody got 43 degrees here. It's rounding to the nearest tenth, but it actually rounds up to the nearest whole number here. 43 degrees, okay? Now that we know, please get your head up. Now that we know two of our three angles, how can we find our third angle? We can, yes, subtract these two from 180 to find out what's left over, right? So this is, guys, those of you who weren't here yesterday, you really have to understand this for you to understand what we're doing today. So I really need you guys to work hard and pay attention and let me know if you have any questions. This is 180 minus our other two angles, 43 minus 41.1, and what does that give us for angle B? What'd you get? Okay, what'd you guys get? 95.9? I think it was probably the error here rounding this one. We're rounding the nearest tenth.
Yeah, but on the other one it was 32.9. I mean 43.9.
Well, it was because it was 43, it was 42.97. So we look at the number in front of the tenth. Hey, bye, girl. So the 7 rounds the 9 up, which makes it round the, does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So now we need to use the law of sines again, right? So we are going to set this up as the sine of 41.1 divided by, what's opposite that one, 27, is equal to the sine of 95.9 divided by B. Do you see how we did that, guys? It's just the sine of the angle over the sine of the side opposite it. And that's how it's always going to be. It's always going to be the sine of this over this, the sine of this over this, the sine of this over this, right? Y'all can see that? Okay, so now we're just going to cross multiply and solve. And that gives us B sine of 41.1 equals 27 times the sine of 95.9. 0.9. And then that's going to end up giving us B is equal to 27 times the sine of 95.9 divided by the sine of 41.1. And for those of you who were not here yesterday, if you would put this in your calculator, please, just to make sure that you know how to put this in, I'd greatly appreciate that. Forgot to hit the recording. Oh. And on the second triangle, we're going to write the same thing, 41 degrees. I'm sorry? Oh, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set this up using law of sines. The sine of 41 degrees is over 15 is equal to the sine of B over 13. So we're going to cross multiply here just like we did before, and we'll end up with the sine of B is equal to 13 times the sine of 41 divided by 15. Is that what you guys got? You okay with me skipping those steps?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now to find angle B, it's equal to the sine inverse of 13 So what did you guys get here for angle B? 34.7 degrees, okay? Now that we found angle B, this is where we decide whether or not we have another triangle, okay? So to do this, we take 180, and what do we subtract from 180? 34.7. What does that give us? $145.3? 145.3 degrees, okay? Hold on, let me erase that. I'm going to show you 145.3, okay? Think of it as in we were in the first quadrant, right? And then we wanted to go to the second quadrant. So we subtracted that reference angle because it can be a triangle whether it's on this side or that side. But that's actually not going to be the case here, and let me show you why. What happens if we added these two angles together? It's more than 180, and that would leave 0 degrees for this. We don't have any here. That can't happen, so there's no second triangle here. Okay? Any questions there? We can't solve for C because 145.3 plus 41 is more than 180. Oh, yes, we still do that in the first triangle. Yes, ma'am. All right, so let's continue. Let's go back and solve for side C and angle C. And we do that by first finding angle C. So how do we find angle C here?
We would do
You subtract all that from these two angles by 180.
Right, angle C is just equal to 180 minus the other two angles, 41 and 34.7. And so that gives us angle C is equal to what? 104.3? 104.3 degrees. Any questions here? Okay, what about side C? How can I find side C?
you can do the sine of 13 over, well, the sine of 34.7.
Okay, you know what I usually start off with, Alvin? It doesn't matter, but I usually like to just start off with what we're given. Is that okay if we do that?
Yeah.
So is it cool if I use the sine of 41 divided by 15?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's equal to what, Alvin?
The sine of 41 divided by 15 is equal to the sine of 104.3
Okay, good.
divided by C.
Perfect. Okay, so now we cross multiply. And that gives us C times the sine of 41 is equal to 15 times the sine of 104.3. Right? So now we just divide both sides by the sine of 41, and we get C is equal to 15 sine of 104.3 divided by the sine of 41. Are there any questions here? What did you get for your C? 22.2? Any questions here? All right, I'll give you guys a second to write that down. Any questions? Ma'am? Yeah, C equals 22.2. All right, let's go to the next triangle. So again, we're going to just start off with the information we're given. That's angle A is 46.3 degrees. Okay, so then we'd have the sine of 46.3 divided by 10.2, and that's a 10.2, not a 10 times 2, is equal to the sine of B divided by 11.7. We'd cross multiply and solve for B, and we end up getting the sine of B is equal to 11.7 times the sine of 46.3 divided by 10.2. I skipped a step there when I was cross multiplying. I skipped some steps. If you need me to go back or have any questions about how I got that, please raise your hand and let me know. Alvin, do you see what I did? I cross multiplied and then I divided by the 10.2. Oh, I write that every time. We're not quite sure there's a second triangle just yet. But if there is, they'll have the same values that were given. Yeah. Yeah.
But last time was, well, never mind.
Well, they have the same given values.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We're saying there's a possibility that there are two triangles that have those same values, but different. Their other values might be different. Okay. All right. So let's continue. We know that to get the angle B, it's just equal to the sine inverse of all of this, 11.7 times the sine of 46.3 divided by 10.2. And what did you get as the measure of angle B? Anyone? 56 degrees on the dot? Is that another one that rounds up to the nearest? No? You got something different? Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, thank you. So if this is 56, this is the point where we have to decide, do we have one or two triangles? And to do that, again, we're going to subtract the angle we just got from what number? 180. Very good. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's 180 minus 56 degrees, and what does that give us? Thank you. I'm sorry? 124. Good. So this is 124. Now, what is 46.3 plus 124? I'm sorry? 170.3. So the sum of these two angles are 170.3. Is that less than 180?
Yes, ma'am.
Then we're good. Okay? To find our third angle in this triangle, what would this angle be? We would subtract from 180 and get 9.7 degrees, right? And then we could do the same thing here, subtract these two from 180, and what's this angle? Did you say 27.7? 77.7, okay? Now, all we have to do is use the law of sines 2 more times to find C in both of these two triangles, okay? So using our first triangle, I'm just going to put a 1 here so you don't get confused. Using our first triangle, this would be the sine of 46.3 divided by 10.2 is equal to the sine of 77.7 divided by 11.7. I'm sorry, divided by little c, because that's what we're looking for, right? So then we would cross multiply here, and we get c is equal to 10.2 times the sine of 77.7 degrees divided by the sine of 46.3 degrees. Okay? Are there any questions here? What did you guys get for C? On the first triangle? 13.8, is that what everybody else got? Good. And we're going to do the same thing over here with our second triangle. This gets a bit repetitive, doesn't it? That's why I started skipping steps. So this gives us c times the sine of 46.3. Oh, I was supposed to go ahead and solve. Oh, well. Is equal to 10.2 times the sine of 9.7 degrees. Okay, then we divide both sides by the sine of 46.3, and we're going to end up getting that c is equal to 10.2 times the sine of 99.7 degrees divided by the sine of 46.3 degrees. And what does that give us for the C for our side C for our second triangle? 2.4. Did everybody else get 2.4 for side C of your second triangle? Okay, you still have 6 minutes, and I expect you to use all 6 of these minutes to finish your homework, which is the back. Okay? You will not pack up early. You will not get on your phone, but I need you guys working. Guys, please remember that I will have tutoring today after school. I'll have it Tuesday after school and Wednesday after school. Okay? So those are 3 days that you have to come to me for tutoring after school. I will not be able to tutor after school on Thursday or Friday. So you need to make plans in advance to come to tutoring either today after school, Tuesday after school, or Wednesday after school. Is that clear? Also, there have been a lot of people who have been out lately. If you were one of those people, it is your responsibility to go to Schoology, to watch the videos, and to complete your homework assignments. If at any point you do not understand them, then again, it is your responsibility to come see me for tutoring. Is that clear?